Authority, in partnership with the African Tax Administration Forum and the World Bank Group, has launched a 5-day technical assistance training on transfer pricing aimed at strengthening the Gambia's capacity to combat tax avoidance and illicit financial flows involving multinational companies. The training held at the Senegambia Beach Hotel brought together tax officials, finance experts, and international specialists. Officials said the training is part of efforts to strengthen domestic revenue mobilization and improve the country's ability to monitor cross-border commercial activities. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Commissioner General of the Gambia Revenue Authority, Yankuba Dabo, said the mission marks another important milestone in the authority's efforts to institutionalize transfer pricing administration within the GRA.
Today's event marks yet another significant milestone in the GRA's ongoing effort to strengthen its institutional and technical capacity in the areas of transfer pricing. A rapidly evolving and highly specialized field of international taxation. I would like to express our sincere appreciation to ATAF for its continuous and unwavering support to the Gambia Revenue Authority. As a founding member of ATAF, the GRA has always believed in the organization's mission of strengthening tax administration system across Africa. And we remain proud of the collaborations relationship which we will continue to enjoy. I would also like to extend our gratitude to the World Bank Group for partnering with ATAF in delivering this mission. The World Bank has consistently been a valuable development partner, particularly in the support of the government domestic resources mobilization and a broader public sector initiative. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this mission builds on transfer pricing technical assistance program delivered in September 2025. During that initial engagement, our staff benefited from intensive training on transfer pricing principles, international standards, and emerging best practices in the administration of tax pricing rules. Following the completion of that mission, ATAF submitted a comprehensive report containing key recommendations and detailed implementation roadmap. After the careful consideration, GRA management endorsed all the recommendations with a firm commitment to institutionalizing transfer pricing within the authority. Consequently, an implementation team was established to coordinate the execution of the work plan in collaboration with the ATAF experts. I am pleased to note that significant progress has already been made. Among the activities completed so far are the review of the legislative framework and the successful conduct of a virtual workshop on transfer pricing, risk assessment, and a case selection.
Deputy Commissioner General of the Gambia Revenue Authority, Esa Jallo, said transfer pricing has become indispensable in modern tax administration due to the increasing presence of multinational corporations operating across jurisdictions.
Today, in modern tax administration, transfer pricing is one of those skills which are indispensable, particularly when you look at investments that are happening across. You will realize that in the economy, you don't only have domestic investors or Gambians who are investing. You will have corporations, multinational corporations, and they are multi-jurisdictional. So which means that they are not in one country. So this is where the risk of transfer pricing becomes imminent. And GRA management is always conscious of the fact that our human resource base is the most important resource that we have. And we have to manage it in such a way that the requisite capacities are built so that you are able to discharge whatever functions that are required of a modern tax administration.
ATAF transfer pricing specialist Betty Ahwiro revealed that Africa loses billions of dollars annually through illicit financial flows linked to transfer mispricing. She explained that the training will focus on practical case studies, audit simulations, and strengthening the Gambia's legal and administrative framework on transfer pricing.
enhance revenue collections for tax administrations and by growing efficient and effective tax systems, especially in Africa. And why is this the case? When we look at in 2015, when you read the Thabo Mbeki report, it indicated that Africa on an annual basis loses about 50 billion USD due to illicit financial flows. And these are partly contributed by transfer mispricing, as my colleagues had already indicated. And we see that figure growing. Bigger UNCTAD reports later by the UN reveal it's about 100 billion that developing countries actually lose. And then we see the OECD in 2013-15, an impact assessment was done, and it indicated that globally we lose about 240 billion USD annually to transfer mispricing and the like. And what does that reveal to Africa? When you look at the figures for Africa, we lose about maybe 1 to 2% of Africa's GDP. And this is where now we come in as ATAF to support African countries to grow the revenue. Why? Because, like my colleagues mentioned, this mispricing and the revenue losses that we encounter eventually go into what would ordinarily be using for the citizens to improve public services, right? And so that's the challenge. And we see that domestic resource mobilization has now become sort of a center stage or taken center stage. In the discussion in Seville last year, we see that financing for development it was anchored on domestic resource mobilization. And that's where now tax administrations come in and to be able to support the budgets that we have by the ministries, you see. And so I'm really grateful to the GRA for this workshop because it's making what we have always promoted in different countries, the whole of government approach, where it's not only about the revenue administration because we don't work in isolation, but rather also bringing in the Ministry of Finance. And this is part of the major tools that we see in really being able to develop robust transfer pricing results and also sustainability in the long run.
Director of Tax and Revenue at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Alaji Jallo, described illicit financial flows and transfer mispricing as major threats to Africa's domestic resource mobilization efforts.
Taxing cross-border transaction grows in tandem. We are all aware of the stakes. In many of our jurisdictions, multinational companies are the drivers of investment and innovation. However, the mispricing of transactions between related parties, whether intentional or accidental, remains one of the most significant risks to our tax base. When profits are shifted away from where the actual economic activity occurs, it is not just a technical link. It is a loss of schools, a loss of hospitals, and a loss of infrastructure. It is a challenge to the fairness of our tax system. Ladies and gentlemen, this workshop is not just another meeting. It is a testament of the power of collaboration. To the World Bank, we thank you for the unwavering commitment to strengthening institutional capacity.
Deputy Commissioner of Tax Audit at the Gambia Revenue Authority, Ibu Jallo, described transfer pricing as an important tool in revenue collection and tax compliance. He said the training will help strengthen legislation and build the capacity of staff to conduct risk assessments and transfer pricing audits.
And it's a follow-up mission, for us to strengthen our legislation and train our staff so that they will be able to spot those kind of transactions that is being conducted by taxpayers. One, we have to strengthen our legislation, they have already done a review of the laws that we have, our revenue laws, just to make sure they're in line, and also to train our staff to do risk assessments and select cases for audits.
The training runs from the 18th to the 22nd of May 2026 and is expected to equip GRA officials with the technical skills needed to conduct transfer pricing audits and improve compliance among multinational businesses operating in the Gambia. For Voice TV, Fatkuba reporting.